for profit reasons by developers and who knows what other reasons as well.
Scarcity.
Yeah, and there's literally houses already there. You don't have to build anything.
Yeah.
You just say, oh, here's an empty house. There you go. Yeah, it's insane. But you got to keep them empty because years. It's just sick. We've had a lot of Democrat failures in today's stream.
They're such losers.
They suck. Well, they're not just losers. They're both losers.
Evil losers.
They're evil. Yeah. They're not offering an alternative to the evil guys. They're just really also being evil. I love this though. California, lovely place. Love going back there. Beautiful. I love a nice socialist country.
Yeah. It's full on communist dictator over there. Dictatorship
which we
like here.
Which I really like.
How is it? There's
it's
bread
utopia.
lines, homeless people everywhere. Yes, that's what we like.
But he's no more Argentina. We're done with Milei. Anyway, I love this article. It's so stupid. Governor Newsom seeks to harness the power of generative AI to address homelessness and other challenges.
But hang on, before you go on, this isn't an article. This is a press release.
Yeah, press release. Yeah.
So this is them proudly saying this. This is the type of policies we're going to do.
Yeah, it's so funny.
This isn't someone looking into the nitty gritty and seeing about the evil they're saying behind closed doors. This is them proudly coming out and saying, we've got it, everyone.
Governor Gavin Newsom invites developers to create generative AI solutions for some of the most challenging issues facing California and its 39 million residents, including housing and homelessness. Are you a resident if you don't have a house?
I don't know.
It's a strange terminology, but it's just like, I guess you live in California.
You reside there.
Yeah, I guess so. You end up there. This is just so insane because it's so obviously if you're a die-in-the-wool capitalist, you don't think there's a solution to homelessness because there's no profitable solution. So it's just like the instead of dealing with doing things that are proven internationally in other countries to deal with homelessness, like in Scandinavian countries, like housing first policies and other things actually address homelessness.
Yeah.
That's off the cards. We can't do any of the stuff that actually works. So our only option is to use AI to work out how we could possibly do it.
But it's so evil as well because this is coming after the pandemic when we know.
Oh, yeah.
We know what helps homelessness. You give them a home.
Yeah.
Give them a home, which we can do.
Yeah.
And then there isn't homelessness.
But it's also,
no, we need to. This is very difficult. Very difficult. And
Yeah.
it's the same. Yeah, the same thing in Australia where poverty went down during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Because the government was giving out heaps and heaps of disaster payments, and as a result of poverty going down, suicides went down, and all these horrible societal problems which we need to figure out exactly how to fix, they went down.
Yeah. Somehow we
Then
fix them.
the pandemic ends and we get rid of it.
Yeah.
And it all goes up again. And we go, we don't know what to do. We don't know what to do. It's like, this is...
You do know what to do.
This is a deliberate creation of the system.
100%. And it's nuts because in America, I forgot what the figure was with homelessness when they because homeless people were vectors of disease under COVID. You isolate them, you give them a place to stay, and it reduced homelessness by a third. Some insane number, an insane number that they actually for the first time ever in America managed to tackle homelessness. And it's weird because on one hand, people will argue that you can't just give people stuff and spend money on it. What you're doing is spending money to turn people into productive members of society. Although homeless people are working a lot of jobs now anyway, but but it's insane. You're only reaping rewards from it. Apart from the ethical reason to do it, it's also economically productive to have people in houses doing jobs in a secure environment. Yeah, it's so insane. But they don't want to do that, and the only solution is AI.
Yeah,
the same stuff that you can use to put boobies on on a politician or show a hamster riding a surfboard. This is the thing that's going to solve our problems, apart from the stuff that's proven to solve these problems.
Exactly. It's that's the most annoying thing about this technology idea. It's just if we just need to come up with the right solution. We don't yet have it, as opposed to political will is stopping us from solving any of these fucking problems.
The issue is you don't want to do it.
We know what to do. There's people saying to do it, and we refuse to do it.
And obviously, even a child can see the discrepancy between houses that are empty that purposely left empty for profit reasons by developers and who knows what other reasons as well.
Scarcity.
Yeah. And there's literally houses already there. You don't have to build anything.
Yeah.
You just say, oh, here's an empty house. There you go. Yeah, it's insane. But you got to keep them empty because how else are you going to drive the price up for landlords and developers and all these other people, because they're very important to the economy.
I think like the homeless stuff it's so amazing the amount of like empathy needs to be removed to allow homeless to not be the number one issue.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like when you walk past a homeless person, the amount that you have to like die inside to not just break down into tears and be like,
crazy.
this is the most horrific thing I've ever seen. The fact that we allow this, it's so totally destroying.
It's insane. But like the existence of homelessness is an like inoculation in itself. Because I know because you've been to LA.
No, I haven't.
Is great. Like it drives you insane. Like we always cut our trips early because like we get so depressed after like 2 weeks because you got these people struggling, having psychotic episodes everywhere. Like it's not even just like you see them a lot, but they're the only people outside.
Yeah.
Because everyone else is in cars.
hiding from them.
Yeah, hiding from them. But then as like a well-off person or even just like middle class, as a not homeless person, it's confronting to see these people.
Yeah.
And like the reaction from like an average housed person is to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
This is an unseemly like thing I don't want to have to look at. And like you're kind of forced to deperson them. I don't know what the right term is, to dehumanize them.
To shield your heart from considering their experience. Yeah. And not to sound too preachy. I used to help out at like a homeless street kitchen kind of thing, and I used to just come home from that furious every single time, and I kept thinking about this very, very simplistic narrative, but I would keep thinking about like, so there didn't used to be homelessness during like the feudal times and stuff like that. There wasn't homeless people. There was a very minimal thing. The beggars, the church would help them out. But it wasn't like a massive widespread problem. And I always used to think about like when we started to switch towards capitalism.
Yeah.
Surely, like the first time a homeless person would have popped
People
up,
were like, what the
everyone
fuck?
would have been like, oh, okay, something's wrong.
Yeah,
Something's wrong. Start again. Hang on, this is not a good idea, everyone. But just for it to continue to go and just it's an accepted thing. I mean, it's obviously it happens gradually, but it's just like.
But I think you're on the right track though, because like it's not. I think that the difference is that the people seeing the homeless people aren't the ones being asked about whether we should do capitalism or not. Because it was a coup from the top.
Yeah.
Right. So like if we read Caliban and the Witch by Silvia Federici, which is the only book I've ever read or ever talk about. It's that. It's like you dispossess a bunch of people and create all these social problems so you can privatize land and create this new kind of commodity. These are the people making the decisions. Yeah. And like they don't even have to see the homeless people.
Well, I guess it's also the same as like what we were talking about with the shock doctrine and all that stuff. It's like, well,
you a cuddle boy?
Yeah.
Good people. That's pretty good.
Yeah, it's like the shock doctrine, but like the medieval version, the early modern period. It is like, no, we're ripping all of this stuff away from you, and it's and part of it is to recalculate your brain as to how you're meant to interact with society.
What's really cool?
The book is Caliban and the Witch
by Silvia Federici. It's really good. It goes through the witch hunts and
like primitive accumulation and stuff.
Yeah. So like the overarching argument is that like there was potentially a revolution in feudal times to create a better system, and the emergence of capitalism is a counter-revolution. And one of its main and one of the main aspects is that they had to discipline women's bodies. So, sorry, this is going to sound so wanky, but you're here. So let's go through it. It's like you had traditional societies that all functioned in certain ways, which were like pretty self-contained, but they relied on the commons, with all the land outside that didn't belong to anyone, but everyone relied on for subsistence. And then capitalists started emerging, or like proto-capitalists or whatever they are, and they were like, I got to privatize this stuff. Like, this is going to belong to me. This huge tract of land that doesn't belong to anyone, that's going to be mine. And I'm going to use it for like a cash crop. And I'm going to pay people to work on it. And suddenly everyone in the villages didn't have access to this stuff. So their life couldn't function anymore. They didn't have wood from the forest. They didn't have water from the streams. They didn't have all this stuff. They couldn't survive. And so they had to start selling their labor instead. Yeah. So they became proletarians. They became part of the workforce. Anyway, one of the crucial bits in making this work, if you're a capitalist, is that you have to just hundreds of thousands of women. That's the thing, because like at a certain point they kind of had a lot of like the cultural knowledge of these smaller societies. Like as you're starting to proletarianize people and streamline their jobs, like you are just a person who picks tobacco.
Yeah.
Like that is your existence. Before that, you knew how to do a million things.
Yeah.
You were now this kind of person, and women had a bunch of roles.
Yeah.
Had a lot of things that they were doing within a society. A lot of like medicine. You know, they you would heal people. You have like knowledge about all this stuff. Suddenly that became witchcraft, and and so like all the stuff you knew how to do is not your job anymore.
Yeah.
And you doing it is satanic. So you'd have to like burn these people alive. And if you once you burn enough women, then suddenly people realize that this is their role now. You are not you're not doing medicine. You're not doing this stuff. You have to just create the workforce.
Yeah.
That's your only job in it now. We've changed the system.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a great book.
Good book.
But now you don't have to read it because now I've explained it. Yeah. There was another book that I wanted to talk about, but I don't know. There's more viewers. Oh, we can just keep ranting about
People like us talking about
theories.
books.
There's another really good book that reminds me of this. Actually, very similar to Caliban and the Witch in that it deals with the enclosures. No, this is the enclosures were that was the first time land became a commodity. So they built all these fences around stuff. It became private property, and then everyone who relied on it had to become workers. They couldn't just be subsistence people. Anyway, with AI is very relevant because there's another book called what is it called? In the Age of Surveillance Capitalism by Shoshana Zuboff. So Age of Surveillance Capitalism by Shoshana Zuboff. And she's really cool in that I guess AI is actually quite relevant in that back in the day at the start of capitalism, we had the enclosures which we privatized land. And at the time, like no one thought that could be someone's property. You know, we had no conception of it. It was like I remember one of my dad's friends, one of his colleagues is a gypsy from the UK, right? And his dad used to always get in trouble because he'd take his horse to graze on other people's land, and he could just not fathom what he was getting in trouble for. Because he's like, the police would come and be like, your horse is not meant to eat this grass. And he was just like, how is this someone else's grass? It's like, and he'd be like, is my horse not allowed to breathe this air? Or like, is my horse not allowed to get this sun or stuff? It was just, it's so crazy. Like, this doesn't make sense. How is this someone's property? It doesn't make any sense. So what Shoshana Zuboff is arguing is that big data is the new, well, okay, we've got to explain it a bit more. So you got big data. Which is just, sucking up everyone's information. All this stuff about you and your actions and stuff is all getting sucked up and funneled into very few hands. It's like there's a huge there's a huge inequality in the ownership of information. You've got like a tiny group of people that have all this information about you. They don't know what to do with it because it's really hard to, kind of impossible to read like billions of data points about a person. But through AI, ideally, the kind of goal is, which is going to make big data more profitable, is that AI is going to be able to read all this data and then be able to turn it into like an actual useful product. So, so if you can read all this data about me, because I'm always on my phone, I'm always like looking at stuff on the internet, they're going to know that at 3:01 p.m. on a Thursday, for some reason, I get really horny or something. Who knows what it is? It's something that I don't know about myself because I don't have that information. Like I can't access that, but they know, right?
Yeah.
And when they reach this point where AI can probably decipher this stuff, they can guarantee that if they show me this specific thing, I'm going to click on it. Or or I get really sad at 7:03 every second Friday, and they'll be able to curate the perfect thing for me to click on. And sorry.
I was just going to say, what I find so weird about the big tech and the data and all that stuff is it's not like inherently productive.
No,
the same way, like land, for example, is when tied to agriculture, there is wealth to be produced.
Yeah.
It is a productive thing, but it's like data is only productive through advertising and the possibility that you will buy something which is blah 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 all this way down the line. So it's like it's it's like a commodification of the very, I don't know, it's like further down the chain, whereas land is the very beginning.
Yeah.
The very beginning of the whole of production and all this stuff, whereas you're marketizing all the way down the food chain.
Well, we've already privatized everything,
money.
so we're getting further and further along the. I don't know. Yeah, it is interesting. I think like the kind of go back to Zuboff, the kind of big thing she's proposing about AI is that like back in the day, or like throughout all of human existence, just like up until the enclosures, we assumed land could not be privatized. It doesn't even make sense. It is just a inherent thing that belongs to everyone. It's crazy to think that someone could own it. It's almost baffling. Like what we're on now is like a new version of the enclosures where because of big data and, you know, if AI does reach a point where we can pass through it, people are going to be able to privatize more or less your decisions, I guess. They'll be able to know more than you know what you're going to do at a certain point of time and what your chances are of doing something, and be able to feed you stuff that will make you do it. And all throughout history up until now, we've thought of ourselves as these bounded, enclosed people with our own decisions and our own mindsets. And this is a chunk of us that's getting privatized. And we never thought it could happen, just like land.
It's not being privatized, it's being commodified.
Yeah.
Because it was already private. It was you, the individual.
It was me. I was the one who owned it.
It was privatized. It's commodified.
Yeah.
This wasn't like a public thing. It was something that existed outside of market spaces.
That's the same with land. Yeah.
But that's not. Yeah.
So I think that's the kind of scary bit in that, like, again, like when land got privatized, it changed the way we interact with everything around us, and our whole conception of ourselves and everything changed. This is the next thing that's going to change everything. It's just like we are not going to be the same kind of humans we thought we were. That part of us is going to be the market now, and whatever's left of us is going to be us.
What's the name of that Zuboff book?
In the Age of Surveillance Capitalism by
Shoshana
Zuboff.
In the Age of Surveillance Capitalism.
I exclusively read books written by women. Thank
you.
You're very feminist.
You're listening to NPR, and we're talking with Alex Avulovic about what he's been reading.
The 2 books he's ever read in his life. He'll tell you all about
Alex,
them.
So tell us, capitalism in the age of digital surveillance. What's that like?
That's so funny. Yeah. I remember this. I found it disgusting. Former US President Barack Obama also listed it as one of his favorite books of 2019.
Dickhead, you did all this.
Yeah, you made this happen. Which journalism researcher Avi Asher Shapiro called interesting, given that the book heavily criticizes the revolving door of personnel between Google and his administration, as well as his presidential campaigns involving surveillance data to target voters. I mean, like,
well, yeah,
he's not a real person.
No, but that's the thing. It's like his Spotify playlist. Like, he doesn't listen to any of those songs.
I don't think that man's ever listened to a song.
No,
that's not who he is, and that's not his spiritual purpose in the world. He is just a vessel for neoliberalism.
Yeah, techno-feudalism.
That's the only book Lucas has read. So
I only read Giannis. Yeah, I only like Greeks. You like the women, I like Greeks.
Yeah, I like women. Well, Greeks are the women of world history. So there you go. Some states needing a beach badge. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, Giannis is a very good speaker. And he's also
hot.
He's good looking, so he's nice to look at. The annoying thing about his lectures is he's very good at saying exactly what's in his books. So, like, it's a good thing if you don't want to read his books. But, like, I used to watch it, like, a lot of his lectures and stuff like that. I was like, this guy's sick. This guy's great. I love what he talks about. I want to see what he has. And then I got his one of his books, and I was reading it. I was just like, oh, I've already heard all of this stuff. He's just repeating the same thing.
He is the complete opposite of Zizek, who, like, will only ever talk about the exact opposite of what he's written about.
Yeah.
Like, he'd have, like, interesting books, although, like, really dense and kind of, like, really verbose and annoying. There's interesting stuff in there. And then when he talks in person, he's just like, I'm the dildo and the cell machine.
It is the fucking machine. Yeah. And isn't that the perfect, the most beautiful form of a date? It is, we can get to know each other and the machine can handle all of that dirty.
You are so much better at the Zizek accent. My parents speak like Zizek.
Yeah, they do.
And I can't do the accent like you can.
It is exactly precisely the point. It is just like this.
What is this? They love it. You're very good at that. I didn't realize how good you are at Zizek. Oh God, I hate that guy. I can't.
We've talked about this, but I think we talked about this last time I was on. Yeah. I was like, I like him because I find him entertaining, and he does say some. I like the you don't like psychoanalysis
yeah,
and
I mean,
stuff.
it's fun.
I like when he talks about it. It's fun to think about and kind of go, oh yeah. He also says some of the stupidest shit in the world. So
Yeah,
he's not
yeah.
like he's not like my thought leader.
No.
I enjoy hearing him weigh in on opinions.
Yeah,
though.
yeah. Oh. His books are unreadable.
I've
Dude,
never
I
read
gave
it. I've
myself an
never read it.
anxiety attack because I was using one of his books pretty heavily in my honors thesis. I got to points where I'm like sitting and reading. I think it was The Sublime Object of Ideology or something.
Yeah.
Awful. I mean, awful but cool, but awful. But I remember at one point I read the same sentence like 19 times. And I remember putting it down and being like, I can't read. I can't read. I don't know what the sentence is. And I started freaking out. I had like a panic attack because I'm like, how am I meant to do this thesis if I can't read? I don't know how to read anymore. And I'm hyperventilating. I go to the bathroom. I try to drink water. He crushed me. It was the worst thing in the world.
I just wanted to say, Elf Lady 64. I want to read Deleuze and Guattari.
We're talking about rhizomatic
the Anti-Oedipus. I want to read that next.
That's what I get with Truanon because I feel like Liz always talks about rhizomes. And I'm like, what the is that?
Yeah.
What the is that? I hate that. It's so annoying. It's just like, because I know nothing about it, what it sounds like to me is just like saying the most gentle thing in order, like that fits into every single situation, but you just kind of like developed a word.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's so confusing.
Yeah, you've talked about rhizomes to me.
I fucking hate rhizomes. I don't know what the fuck is going on.
See, I really liked his. Do we want to keep talking about Zizek or should we talk about the news?
I don't know. People like the theory talk.
I really liked his Pervert's Guide to Ideology. I really liked him explaining ideology, stuff like that. I really liked it of being like, it's like a public. It was like the social psychology almost, which relates to how we understand ourselves, and that's ideology.
It is kind of fun. It felt a bit rambling though at times. You were just like,
I liked it.
Yeah, I really like the bit where he's talking about perversion in the Catholic Church, where he's like, I think I'm gonna be butchering his actual takeaway from it, but it was really cool. Where like, actually, the longing for the desire is by if I'm gonna get up so bad, but it's like, by putting in these limits, what they're actually doing is promoting this desire, and that's like the main function of the church is actually creating this perverse desire. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what that means. I don't even know what I'm saying.
I like that psychoanalytical stuff.
Yeah, but like, what does it mean? Can you explain it to me? Oh god.
Yeah, I don't know. Alexis, he says it's pseudo-intellectual as well.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it's hard because it's also like very monetizable within like this what is academia now. Like, you're kind of incentivized to create new words, or like. But
you're just focusing on the rhizomes rather than the other he's talking.
Serb hates the real Croatian Catholics, which is Zizek, who is a Slovenian Catholic. Is that he criticizes all existing and historical movements on the left, says we need to invent some new forms of organizing, then doesn't process a single thing. Yeah, no, 100%. I think he's a charlatan. I think he's a fake guy, but he's just entertaining. I think is the most the most praise you've given to him.
He's entertaining, one to like look at and do impersonations of, but also I do like when he starts going into that really crazy whack. Yeah. I find it entertaining to just think about. It's like when you're talking to like a really stoned out of his mind guy and he's talking about like, whoa man, it's like the donut's like got a hole and it's like the hole in your like it's like in your stomach when you're like hungry, man. And then you like have the coffee. Yeah,
it's precisely the point.
That's interesting. It is the donut is the hole in which is the hunger inside. Yeah, I like it.
But he's I think what I find really endearing about him and really annoying as well, because I grew up with a million Zizeks. That's every Serbian uncle.
Yeah,
they all have this like super theory of the world that's so esoteric and so like based on specific life experiences that only they have had, and everyone has one, and they're all at each other's throats about it. They all hate each other's theory, and it's just funny because I see like one of these guys has been given a platform, and it's just like that's everyone's dad.
Yeah,
Tell my Serb dad, don't even. Yeah, there's a funny song. I'm not even gonna put it on. Doesn't matter. Never mind. Let's go back to the news.
Let's move on to the news.